Everybody, my name is Wonder Woman, aka Jamie Broom. I was asked to speak here today by a good friend, Michelle Belson. I told her I would do it. And also, another reason why I accepted the invitation to speak today was because I told my daughter Deja that I would do something scary for me because she did something scary for all of us, and so I had to keep my word, and so therefore I'm up here today. I started being a team captain back in 2003. I am the team captain for the team Believers, the Believers. We're down here with the obstacle course. My focus, basically, the initial reason why I started doing relay is obviously because of my daughter was diagnosed, but and there's a lot of things that the American Cancer Society does for cancer patients. My main focus is the money that goes to the research that's used to develop new and better protocols for the cancer patients, so that they don't get the infections, you know, from the chemo while they're being treated. Most cancer patients that I've ever known have not actually died from the cancer in particular, but because they've gotten an infection and from their treatment. As Renee said, my daughter Deja was diagnosed. She was 2.5. This was back in January 14th of 2001. Deja pretty much breezed through her first treatment, basically only getting like an ear infection once and one bout of pneumonia, but in 2006 that all changed. She was 8 years old, and that's when she first relapsed. So this meant, a relapse meant more advanced chemo, which would be harder on her body, of course. While she was receiving her second round of treatment, she wound up in septic shock. She was survival flighted to U of M. Spent many days there, wound up on life support. Deja didn't have very good odds at that point, but somehow amazed all of us and came out of it. She went through quite a few months of rehabilitation, and a week before school started, she was going to go to school full-time, and this was after her being on life support and suffering many strokes. So then Deja had some brain damage, and she all of a sudden was this brand new kid that we all had to relearn to know and love, of course. So a week before school was supposed to start, and she was able to go back to school, not having immune issues, she relapsed again. This time, due to my knowledge of what the chemotherapy was doing to her, I decided to go the bone marrow transplant route. The matches that they found were actually stem cells that they got from umbilical cords from newborns. They used 2 of them. They weren't exact matches, but apparently good enough to use. But due to that, Deja suffered many side effects from the bone marrow transplant, including the graft-versus-host disease. She had it all over her skin, she had it under her eyelids, she had it all in her intestinal tract, and eventually it got into her lungs, which caused her to need to be on oxygen 24 hours a day, a 12-year-old. Also, from many of the medications she took, she wound up needing to be on a feeding tube and ultimately in a wheelchair because of pain in her bones from treatment and not being able to breathe very well walking long distances. I have a few childhood cancer facts that I found that I wanted to share with you. I've noticed not much has been said over the years about pediatric cancer. I don't know if it's just because it really is, to me, a more emotional type of thing to talk about. It's pretty sad, you know, when kids have to deal with something that even adults don't even want to deal with. So here they are. Cancer is the #1 killer of children by disease. It is the second leading cause of all children deaths, exceeded only by accidents. 1 in 330 children will develop cancer before the age of 20. On average, 46 children are diagnosed with cancer every day in the United States. Each year, about 3,000 children die from cancer, more than from asthma, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, congenital anomalies, and pediatric AIDS combined. Only about 20% of adults with cancer show evidence that the disease has spread to distant sites on the body at diagnosis, yet 80% of children are diagnosed with advanced disease. The incidence of childhood cancer is increasing, and this cause is unknown. Pediatric funding is nominal in comparison to the other more publicized diseases, such as pediatric AIDS or juvenile diabetes, which increases awareness each year. Most adult cancers result from lifestyle factors such as smoking, diet, occupation, and exposure to cancer-causing agents. The cause of most childhood cancers is unknown. Approximately 70% of children with cancer participate in research trials compared to only 3% of adult cancer patients. As a result, many of the advances in adult cancer treatments are due to the breakthroughs in childhood cancer research. When Deja passed away, she was actually very close to many of her doctors up at U of M, or down at U of M. One in particular, her main bone marrow transplant doctor, could not make it to her funeral, so he sent me a letter that he had written that I could share her funeral, but unfortunately I didn't receive it in time to share it at her funeral, so I thought that I would share that with you just to kind of show you how much these doctors actually do care about their patients, and they're not just a number to them. So here it goes. This is the doctor I was speaking. I first met Deja 2.5 years ago. She made a big impression on me. Deja had already been through a lot of treatment, and her case was definitely more complicated than most children. She had beaten incredible odds just to make it to the point where she could be referred to bone marrow transplant clinic. And here in front of me was a quiet, very composed, very polite young girl with a "I deal with what I have to deal with" attitude. I liked her instantly. Her parents were strong, savvy, and had the medical version of street smarts. By that I mean they knew when to trust, to ask enough questions to be able to make a decision, and they knew how to make sure that whatever plans we made included their input. Some people think doctors want to control everything, but most doctors I know want to partner with their patients and families. I was lucky enough to have a team like Deja, Jamie, and DeWitt to work with. Deja had her bone marrow transplant in December 2008. The best donors we could find for her were cord blood units donated from newborn babies. Deja had some pretty serious complications with the transplant that kept her in the hospital for 4 months, and this set the stage for the rest of her life. I knew she was uncomfortable a lot of the time, and she had pain in her joints and bones, and she needed oxygen. We all know kids who are whiny about little things, and that's pretty normal. And yet, in the whole time, the only times I ever heard Deja complain was if I asked or blocked her view of one of her favorite TV shows. And then only sometimes. We can learn a lot about how to be better people if we pay attention to the best people we know. I know I learned from Deja to appreciate the little things, to have grace under pressure, to be brave in the face of adversity, to trust in others, and to always say thank you and you're welcome. Deja was big on manners, by the way. Deja was very special to me, and one time when I was going on vacation, I asked if there was something I could bring her back. She couldn't think of anything, so I suggested a snow globe. And this became something of a tradition. Whenever I went away on a medical meeting or on vacation, I brought a new snow globe back for Deja. I travel a lot, so Deja developed quite the collection. Shopping for Deja became something that I really enjoyed. For me, snow globes have become a symbol for Deja. With snow globes, there's a too short time of entrancing, beautiful motion, and then a peaceful stillness that reminds you of the pleasure you experienced. For the rest of my life, whenever I see a snow globe, I'll be reminded of sweet, courteous, brave Deja Brown. Deja, thank you, and you're welcome. Deja will always be my hero. I've never met a person stronger than her. And we just need to remember, even though we don't see too many survivors walking around here that are children, there are way more pediatric cancer patients than we really know, just in this area alone. So we all need to be heroes and save lives, right? The power is in your hands.